limiting myself to a mere 3 pages. With a few moments of ad lib. This is pretty incredible. Going from a 77 vote landslide to 200,000 votes and 65% of the vote. My opponent claimed she was going to unify the county. She probably did. She unified the county behind me. So, first of all, I want to thank you. I know I don't get where I am without you. No way. You've been carrying me down this road for a long time. This has been about a 2-year campaign. And your support from all over the county has been amazing, and you made this possible. It's not me. It really isn't. You know, I show up on a flyer, you know, I speak to 50, 100 people at a forum, but it's you who your emails and your letters and your phone calls and your door knocking made this possible. Because you told people why you were supporting me. This is so not like me. Okay. So, also, I have almost 4,000 donors in the public finance system. It works. As I'm telling you right now, some reporter asked me this a week ago. My answer is the same. I ran on public financing this time. I'm running on public financing next time. This is my 4,000 donors. You've got me through the primary with the maximum match, and people said, he's never going to raise this money in the general election. He used up his donors. And I know that a certain candidate was counting on my inability to raise money. Surprise. You all came through again. Another 2,000 people, another maximum match, another ability to put almost $1 million into a campaign. My most expensive campaign ever, I think, was $125,000. And that was enough to come in first in an at-large race. So you made it possible to run a genuine, professional, all-on-the-ground campaign. And I just had amazing help from you, and I got to tell you, I really appreciate it. Public financing works. Big dollar donors lost. So, yeah, power to the people. There was a reason why I brought Joe Uline up here, because Joe Uline is a labor musician. And I'm not ashamed or going to apologize now or ever for my support for working people. Never. My father told me when I was a kid that if you put a pile of gold in front of the entrance of a coal mine, not an ounce of gold comes out of that coal mine. Only when human labor goes into the coal mine does anything go out. So everybody at the table, if you're putting in capital, you get a return. You put in labor, you get a return. You get the same respect, you get the same honor, and you get the same sense of value. So I value the people who go to work every day, who make this county work, who serve us our food, who work in the hospitals. I know what side's the right side to be on. I got no shame in that. And you all have been the best ambassadors that I could ever have. Really, you have been my ambassadors, and I can't thank you enough. I want to thank a few other people. I want to thank my original campaign staff, which is Ben, Frank, and Karen, who got me through the primary. That was a really difficult race with 6 candidates up against somebody who had $5.6 million. And the worst, I thought then at the time, the worst smear campaign that was possible done by the private what is it, Empower Montgomery, whatever they were. I'm glad they spent the money. Really poor return on investment. And we had a great group of interns, Steve, Reg, Rabita, Ashley. Some of you guys were here. You were amazing. And Katie and Carolina, who I've also seen here tonight, you were able to stay on through school and work with the campaign into the general election. And I gotta say, I really appreciate what you did. You weren't seasoned professionals, but you were smart as hell, and you knew what to do, and you got the job done, and I really, really appreciate it.
And we paid them $15 an hour.
I want to thank the folks who worked with me. Claire, who worked on the mailers. Claire's out there somewhere. Marty, who designed it. Marty's not here, so I think she broke her knee. I don't know how she did that. But she's one of the most amazing graphic designers that I've ever known. And her ability to form an image and get a message across was just absolutely instrumental. And between Debbie and Claire working on the mailers, and Debbie, who was my campaign chair, and then there's Dale, who's been with me for God knows how many elections. And Tiffany and Mar, my staff has just been absolutely exemplary. I've been lucky to work with some of the smartest, most committed people, I think, that any council member got to work with. I was able to keep my staff almost through my entire term. There aren't many people that can say their people worked for them the whole time. But that's because we worked together as a team, and I really appreciated the work they did. So, now I want to tell you a little bit about how I got here and where we're going. When I worked at the food co-op, I was one of the founders of the food co-op in Silver Spring. We went to a co-op conference in Minneapolis, and we took a side trip and went into Minneapolis, and we met with some folks from Acorn. And Acorn is a preeminent community organizing organization, as you know. And I went and met with these folks, and they were talking about politics. And they said that in the last election, they had worked to elect a delegate from Minneapolis. And when it got to the legislature, despite the fact that they provided his ground troops and made his election possible, he said to them, you know, I got lots of interests I have to pay attention to. And so I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to push your agenda. And they were really disappointed. And they said what they took away from that was that it was time to stop electing people who pretend to be your friends and elect people who are from you. People who know what your work is, know what your values are, not people you've got to convince to do the right thing, maybe, if you do enough work for them, but to do the right thing because they know what the right thing is to do. And I took that message serious, and I went back, I got elected to the Tacoma Park City Council, I got elected to the County Council. I've always seen myself, frankly, as an activist. Always. I'm always a community member, and I'm always an activist. I'm always doing your work. I was never willing to transition to being the politician who is detached from the day-to-day struggles and had somehow to think about all these other things. I have to think about you. And I have tried to spend my time on the county council thinking about you, working for you, being your representative, and thinking about this as what would an activist do if they were trying to lead this county forward. And I'm proud of the work I've done, and I'm really proud of the people I've been able to work with. And I think it's meant a lot to me to be able to stay true to what I want to be and what I believe I should be. And without your encouragement and your support and everything, I think that would have been a really difficult path. So I really want to thank you. So now I'm going to tell you what I want to do in this county, what's important to me. One is, we declared a climate emergency. My friend Tom Hooker, we took the lead on saying by 2035, we were going to get to greenhouse gas emissions of zero. And oh, by the way, we wanted to shut down the incinerator. I know this is going to be difficult. But if we had set a modest goal, a really easily achievable goal, we would have achieved it, and we just said our work's done. We set a goal, we met it. I know how hard it's going to be to get to zero. We may not get to zero by 2035, but I know that my work will never be done if my goal is zero, that I'll never be able to say that I've accomplished what I set out to do until I get there. And if the climate situation in this country isn't a frickin' emergency, I don't know what is. And the leadership on this is not going to come from Washington. It's not going to come from the state, but it's going to come from Montgomery County. And what we do here is going to be visible beyond the borders of Montgomery County. I want to talk to you about another emergency. It's an emergency that nobody here has mentioned. And, I started high school in 1964. I started school in Montgomery County in 1960. And this was a largely segregated county. And the achievement gap was duly noted when I was in high school, has been duly noted by superintendent after superintendent, county council after county council, and the achievement gap is pretty much today what it was when I started high school. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. So as a council member, I've tried to do two things. I've tried to push on minimum wage because I know the more money the parents make, the more stable their households are. The more stable their households, the more stable their children are when they come to school. Because their kids should not bear the burden of the struggles of their parents. If parents don't know where their rent money's coming from, where their food money's coming from, all that is passed on to the children. And it's hard to tell a kid to sit down, pay attention, do your lesson like a good child. All this other stuff is going on in the background of their heads. So I have focused on housing and income to try to make a difference. And I believe in funding the schools because they've got to have the teachers and the classrooms to do their job. But we had a meeting the other day, and in the meeting, the story was told that 25% of our kids are kindergarten ready. And I said, that's a nice way to say it. Let's say it another way. 75% of our kids aren't ready for kindergarten when they start kindergarten. 75% of our children, and that probably hasn't budged an iota. A little bit here, a little bit there. I am not going to wait for another generation of kids to go through this and to waste their lives and their educational opportunities. We are going to move on early childhood education. We're not going to bite it off in tiny little pieces so a few hundred kids every year get to have a better chance. We're going to find a way to move this thing forward and make a difference because it's as much of an emergency as the climate is. Wasting the human brain and human potential and not letting these kids have the opportunity to be what they can be is wrong, and we need to commit ourselves to putting an end to it here and now as quickly as we can. I want to deal with the business situation in Montgomery County. There are two things I want to do. I want to build the bus rapid transit network. A couple of weeks ago, the Washington Post, in the only good article they've run, ran an article about 22 business leaders saying the biggest impediment to economic development was the bus system in the region. I proposed 10 years ago a network of buses, 110 miles of bus routes to move people in this county, parallel and perpendicular to a red line, so we could open up this county to jobs and opportunities and get people off the road for climate reasons. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get to work on this project. We're going to move people. We're going to get carbon out of the atmosphere. And we're going to get people moving on transit. And I'm not going to make them suffer on slow buses stuck in traffic. We're going to do bus rapid transit the right way. And we're going to build a system that you're all going to be proud of. The other thing, we're going to deal with the business climate issues. I am so tired of hearing that this is the worst county in the world to do business. And look, and it's not a joke, you know. I'd like to just dismiss it and just say these guys are just, you know, mad at us. But the fact is, we're in the way of a lot of people. We don't do things very efficiently. And people keep telling me they can do things better and faster in Howard County and DC and other places, and we need to put an end to that. So we're going to benchmark Montgomery County and what we require against every other jurisdiction. We're going to bring ourselves in line with other jurisdictions. We're going to look at our code processes, and we're going to make sure that Montgomery County is not the obstacle to economic development. There are lots of difficult headwinds in this world. Montgomery County should not be one of those headwinds, and we're going to put an end to that. And we're going to make sure we do this right. And it doesn't mean you give away the store. It just means you treat people fairly and have reasonable rules. And we can do that, and that's one thing I've absolutely pledged to do. And we're going to focus on small businesses because we all talk about how much small businesses contribute to building the regional economy or any economy, and then our policies focus on how many tens of millions of dollars can I give to the biggest corporations in Maryland. I had a guy who's opened and Tom knows the guy, 3 Ethiopian grocery stores. He's hired a ton of people. He's adding more people than Marriott's pledged to add. He got not a dime from Montgomery County, and Marriott got, $52 million. We need to make sure that we grow the economy at the bottom as well as at the top. And we're going to do that. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of policy is we're going to restructure the county government. And I'm proud that when I talked about it, I actually had unions standing beside me who understand, they can read spreadsheets just like I can, and just like I could, and they understand the difficult situation Montgomery County is going to find itself in. And they know, just like everybody else does, that we're not the most efficiently organized enterprise on the face of the earth. And instead of just accepting that, we're going to deal with it. We're going to look at restructuring the government, working with the unions, yes, Washington Post, working with the unions and working people, because nobody knows their jobs better than the people who do them. And no one comes to me more often, frankly, than employees who say you could do this better if you tried. And we're going to try. We're going to work with people. We're going to move people around through attrition. We're not going to be laying people off. There's a way to do this in a sensible way, but when we're done, we're going to have the most efficient, most effective county government that you could possibly have. I'm not doing this to hand out tax cuts. I'm doing this so I can take some of that money and pay for early childhood education, so I can pay for environmental improvements. And I tell people that if your first resort is taxes, then that's always the easy way out of it. You never have to examine yourself. So taxes aren't on the table. There are enough people on the county council who aren't going to raise taxes. There's a real resentment in this community about going after taxes. I got a $5.5 million budget. If I can't find ways to save money in that budget and repurpose it for things that are really important, something's wrong with us. Yeah. And we're going to reposition this county government. We're going to make this a more effective county government. And you're going to look at this when we're done, and you're going to say, you know, it actually was possible. You really can work with working people. And I want to make the point to everybody who's a doubter that workers are our friends. This continual desire to separate us from working people is obscene, particularly when it's done by people who make multiples of what the average worker makes. I so much love the advice and disdain for working people that comes from people making $250,000. It's like, it must be really nice to look at it from there. I respect the work people do. We're going to make sure that they're as effective as they can be. They're going to share with us in making the changes we need to make. We're going to show people that the way to go forward in Montgomery County and in this country is working people together with the institutions they work in. It's good for the private sector. Europeans do this all the time, and it's good for the public sector. We're going to make this work, and that's my pledge to people. Now, the last thing I want to say, and this goes back to the residents of Montgomery County. This campaign was not fun. The primary wasn't fun. when I get mailer after mailer from Empower Montgomery, the only thing they forgot to do is put horns on me, and perhaps a dark cloak or something like that, and portray me as like the enemy of everything. And it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. And it didn't work. And in this election, they pledged a certain candidate $1 million, and they exceeded their pledge. And they assumed I wasn't going to have money. Gosh, I'm so disappointed. But their view was that they could beat me. They could distort my record. They could paint me as someone who was an enemy of business, which I am not, and somebody who would just hand over the reins of the county to the unions, which I am not going to do, and somebody who was unreasonable and radical and extreme. And I think the Post used the word dangerous also. And I would go out and talk to people, and I'd say, guys, have you heard anything dangerous? I asked Nancy twice. Reporter said, tell us something Marc has done that's radical or dangerous. She couldn't name anything, but didn't stop people from writing the stories and doing the work. But you know what really mattered? You mattered. Because people in this county know me. People in this county had a chance to look at my record and see what I had done. And you were the judges of whether I was dangerous or not dangerous. You had the ability to examine my record and see whether I had proposed things that were extreme and out of touch with everybody, or in fact that there was a different story. And the voters of Montgomery County, by like 65%, did not buy the lies, didn't buy the distortions, didn't buy the fictional view of what I am and what I want to do. And you understand what I want to do. Because I'm with you, and you're with me, and we're going to build this county together. So, I want to bring my family up here, wherever you are out there. I want to introduce you to them. Some of you have seen them on TV. Come on up here, Jamie. Robin, I know you're out there. Karen, I know you're out there. Come up here. So, this is my charming daughter, Jamie. Who works really hard. This is Ani. And she's charming. She won't always let you know it, but she's really sweet. And this is Lil, innocent as can be, never whines. Basically perfect. And Kai, Blair basketball player. Smart, and a really good volunteer, and my ex, Karen, who has supported me through all this and many other election campaigns, and Robin, who's somewhere up here, or not up here, do I not see her? She's over there. Hey, Robin's over there. Raise your hand, please. Robin, who's put up with my perpetual absences from the house and the fact that I pretty much work and sleep and work and sleep and work and sleep. And everybody's been just like amazingly supportive. And if you don't have people who are close to you behind you, this would be a lonely and difficult job. And I'm just so grateful to their support and their help and their attachment and belief in me, and like the rest of you. I mean, I'm really grateful to have this like wonderful family of people who I think believe in where we can go and want to be a part of it. So with that, I'll say thank you. And I appreciate you. And I look forward to working with you. And you know where to find me. My doors are open. I actually talk to people. And I'm just thrilled. Thank you.